Hi, my name is bsilberberg, and today we will be looking at global emissions, sea levels, and temperature in Tableau. This first visualization shows uh, three line graphs showing first the adjusted sea level in inches um, as measured by NOAA and CSIRO. As you can see, this has a strong linear and almost exponential increasing trend line as it gets towards present day. The second line graph in this visualization shows the total carbon emissions in million metric tons. And as you can see again, this shows a similar increasing exponential growth pattern as we go from 1880 to present day. And in the third line graph in this visualization, we see the temperature anomaly, which measures the difference in mean temperature as taken between years by NASA GISS. So as you can see, this one has quite a bit more variance than the other two, but still shows quite a strong increase, especially as we get into present day. This next visualization shows a line graph only for total carbon emissions in million metric tons, and this data set runs from 1880 to 2010. As we saw in the first slide, this line follows a very strong, almost exponential increase as we approach present day. If you look at the trend line created using Tableau, we can see a strong positive trend for this data. If you look at the forecast also created using Tableau, we can see that the forecast indicator predicts that the total carbon emissions will continue to increase at a high rate as we go towards 2020 and 2030. The confidence interval, especially as we get further out, shows quite a large variance, but still, even at the lower end of the confidence interval, would still be a substantial increase over the carbon emissions as recorded in 2010 for this data set. This third visualization shows the average sea level as measured by CSIRO. These are the mean sea level in inches as recorded from 1880 to 2010 as well. The data set expands a bit upon this, but for sake of comparison, limited it to 1880 to 2010. As you can see, this data set follows a more linear trend line with quite a bit of variance compared to the total carbon emissions. Again, we have a strong positive trend. This one quite a bit stronger than the total carbon emissions. That increases as we approach present day and onward. And then the forecast as created by Tableau again shows that the average mean sea level will continue to rise according to this prediction, and even the low end of the prediction shows a continued increase in the mean sea level in inches. This next visualization is a scatter plot comparing the CSIRO adjusted sea level and the total carbon emissions in million metric tons. As you can see, this scatter plot shows a strong positive correlation between the two variables, meaning that as the adjusted sea level increases, so do the carbon emissions, implying a strong correlation. You can see the trend line here has a very high R-squared value, meaning again that it shows a strong correlation between the two variables. This kind of expands on the previous two graphs, but also shows that the two variables are a little bit more interdependent on each other. Finally, we have a control chart looking at the average temperature anomaly as measured by NASA GISS and the global mean temperature record, in the year on the bottom from 1880 to 2010. As you can see, there's quite a bit of variance in this graph as it measures how far away each point is from the mean, and these two lines representing one standard deviation of temperature anomaly. The important things to note in this graph is that in the earlier side of the data set, meaning 1880 to 1930, the temperature anomaly seems to be on the lower end, and sometimes even outlying the one standard deviation below the mean in this part of the graph. In the middle part of the graph, we see that there's some variance, but it mostly sticks around the mean. And in the later part of the graph, we see that the majority of the outliers in this data set occur in the past 20 years, or 1990 to 2010, meaning that the global temperature anomalies have increased greatly, especially in the more recent years. While correlation does not imply causation, it's quite interesting to see the heavy increases in both sea level and total carbon emissions, and if both continue to increase, it could have interesting consequences for our environment. Here are the sources taken from various government organizations and prepared sets posted on datasets. Thank you very much.